The city was quiet at this hour, its streets washed in pale light and distant shadows. My clock read 2 a.m. as a taxi pulled up outside the apartment building across from mine. Right on schedule. I stood behind carefully drawn curtains, watching as she stepped out and disappeared inside. Moments later, a light flickered on in her apartment. From where I stood, I could see fragments of her evening unfold through the windows. Small routines repeated night after night. She moved through the rooms with the weary pace of someone returning from a long shift. A cup appeared in her hands. She paused by the window, staring out across the skyline as though searching for something beyond the city lights. I watched. The strange thing was how familiar these moments had become. I knew the layout of her apartment, the sequence of her habits, the time she crossed from one room to another. Every movement felt predictable, yet I never looked away. She disappeared into the kitchen and returned a few minutes later. The glow of the apartment softened around her as she settled into the quiet. Somewhere outside, a siren echoed through the streets before fading into silence. My camera rested beside me on the windowsill. Sometimes I wondered why I kept watching. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was loneliness. Or maybe it was the unsettling feeling that I knew more about her life than I should. Across the street, she stood before a mirror, removing the traces of the day from her face. The routine was unhurried, thoughtful. She studied her reflection for a long moment, as if measuring the distance between who she had been earlier and who she was now. The city carried on beyond the glass, unaware. I remained in the darkness, unseen and silent, convinced that every night would be the same. Yet beneath that certainty lingered a question I could never quite shake. What would happen if she ever realized someone was watching? Night after night, the figure across the street became part of my routine. From behind the safety of drawn curtains, I watched the apartment glow to life after midnight. The occupant always returned late, moving through familiar rituals beneath the warm lights of the city. There was something captivating about the confidence, the carefully crafted image, the way every movement seemed rehearsed. I convinced myself I knew everything. The camera beside my window had become an extension of my curiosity. Each evening I observed the same patterns, the same reflections in mirrors, the same quiet moments before sleep. I built stories from fragments, filling in the blanks with my own assumptions. One night, unable to resist, I made a phone call. The conversation was brief and awkward. The stranger on the other end sounded tired but unafraid, dismissing the anonymous call with surprising confidence. When the line went dead, the apartment across the street grew quiet. The blinds closed. The show was over. Yet behind those closed curtains, another story unfolded, one I could never have imagined. Alone in the room, the performer began dismantling the carefully constructed identity that the world knew. The glamorous appearance was not effortless beauty but an intricate work of artistry. Piece by piece, the illusion came apart, the wig, the makeup, the accessories, the carefully chosen voice. The reflection in the mirror slowly transformed into someone entirely different. Not a stranger, but the real person hidden beneath the character. The glamorous dancer known to audiences was, in truth, a role, one perfected through dedication, creativity, and determination. What the crowds admired each night was the result of countless hours of preparation and skill. As the final pieces were set aside, the performer looked into the mirror and smiled. The world outside only knew the mask. Tonight, for a few quiet moments, the mask could finally rest. Across the street, I remained in the darkness, realizing that despite all my watching, I had understood almost nothing at all.